Hey Body Buds, I'm kristyjo, and I have totally missed so many days of 12 Days of Christmas that we're just gonna kibosh it, okay? So I did still want to go live and share with you a few concepts that may help you focus in your nutrition and your dietary choices as well. So a lot of people really want to know what makes the Power Foods lifestyle so unique, and what sets it apart from all of the different programs and products out there. So I would like to talk you through the different chapters that are in my book, The Power Foods Lifestyle, and point out one, maybe two of what I believe as the author are the most critical points and takeaways from the book. Hi Lyle, thanks for being here. So if you've never read my book, The Power Foods Lifestyle, it is available at powerfoodslifestyle.com. Okay, so, and here's another frequently asked question. Everyone's like, edition 2, do I need to read edition 1? No, because remember, editions they make the past version outdated. So this is a new and improved. This was published in 2015, which means even this information isn't going to contain everything that I now teach, but this is your best starting point into the lifestyle. So, chapter 1, I discuss how a healthy lifestyle is maintainable. It should be maintainable. Now, I don't go into tiers of the Power Foods lifestyle in the book. However, there's lots of training on my podcast and blog after you've read the book, because this is where most people have not figured it out yet, okay? In the Power Foods lifestyle, we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. Most people think when I'm going to start eating healthy, I'm going to push myself and go as hard and do as good as I have to so I can get results. And then when you break, because emotionally or other situations derail you, then you swing to the opposite extreme, which is zero effort, just kind of sabotage it. And that's what we call all or nothing thinking. And so while I do understand there's so many different psychological temperaments out there, what I have devised is these 4 tiers of the Power Foods lifestyle will give you a roadmap to better understand how to define where you're at. Tier 1, tier 2 is where we start. Tier 1 is like basic healthy eating. Tier 2 is where we start strategizing according to principles in the book of how to pair proteins and veggies together and anchor every meal, and then picking and choosing when you put your energy nutrients in there. Energy nutrients are your carbohydrates and your fats. Well, that's not the end of the road, because that's a great start. That is where we should be maintaining as a lifestyle. Tier 3 is where people actually shift their body composition. That is the very good allegiance to your macronutrients, your daily goals, your daily calories being strategically devised for your energy output, your goals, your metabolism. Tier 4 is where many people get confused. You have to think of nutrition like a humongous jigsaw puzzle. And until the jigsaw puzzle is put together with all of these different principles and topics, then anybody can take one piece of the puzzle. Let's take, for instance, nootropics, okay? They're really hot right now. These nootropics, take them in your brain, and this is the reason that you are not reaching your goals. They take one small piece of the puzzle, they magnify it, put it in front of you, and that may or may not be the stepping stone into you starting to put the other pieces together. I am not going to say that any of those little elements, those little jigsaw pieces of puzzle, maybe that's you doing HIIT cardio, maybe that's getting your omega fats, maybe that's eating the right types of vegetables, maybe that is your protein is too low, maybe that is you need to kick out the gluten, maybe that is you need to cut out the dairy, maybe that is you need to switch to grass-fed beef. There are so many little jigsaw puzzles that do need put together, and many people have put a lot of them together, but they don't have the missing pieces, and then they're frustrated and they're like, it just doesn't work. Yes, it does. You need to keep learning or talk with someone who does know how to put all the pieces together. So that's my huge differentiating factor of the Power Foods lifestyle, is I have a way to define all of that and make sense of all of the information out there and hook it and take it and formalize it. That's what the Power Foods lifestyle does. It's an umbrella over all of the different ways that we talk about food, and giving you the way to talk about it so that we can strategize the right formula for you. Okay? No two of you will ever do things exactly the same, and you shouldn't. Your body is your body. But learning how to put things in place for you is the key. And many people make a huge mistake when they say Power Foods lifestyle isn't working for them. No, You just didn't ask the right questions to get the right strategy of Power Foods Lifestyle. Power Foods Lifestyle is which system, which formula of our principles are you hooking together for you to apply? There you go. All right. That is probably one of my biggest pet peeves that I hear is it just doesn't work for me. No, you just didn't learn enough. You didn't spend enough time on the podcast, or you didn't invest in coaching. There's no way to get the amount of information you need from one blog, from one podcast. Okay. You've got to put the time in. I just actually got a message this morning. A woman took my challenge, the 30 podcasts in 30 days. And she's like, Kristy, it really is like dipping your toe in water and then like slowly putting your ankle and then your calf in, and then like over and over you're just keeping. And some days the information said made the day like 5 days ago makes sense, and it's this growing like pool of knowledge that just feels it weird, and then all of a sudden this connects to this and then this connects to this. And I said, you are describing exactly what learning looks like. So that's really, if you're going to come and do Power Foods Lifestyle, which means ditch the diets, ditch these weird approaches out there, ditch the wraps and the shakes and all the crazy stuff. And I'm not saying that some of those may be an important part of your journey into this real food sustainable approach, but you have to figure that out for yourself. And I hope you will do this sooner than later, because the day will come that these fixes, these quick fixes, these short-term solutions will have zero value in your life. And I just hope we can figure that out sooner than later so you don't have to deal with the consequences of that. Roxy, thanks for saying hi. Glad that you were here. And yeah, we'll see you later, okay? All right, so in chapter 2, I talk about mental discipline. This is where you have to realize that emotions run our eating. And while I can't spend too long, because this is just the basic book, and I'm working on an emotion book, Emotions and Eating. I have about 5 books I'm hoping to put out in 2019. And so mental discipline, I talk a lot about what initiates behavior in the Power Foods Lifestyle Academy, which I hope you guys will give yourself the opportunity to do in winter semester. I go into that even more about something called an ETEB chain. E stands for events. You can't change those. T stands for thoughts. What thoughts do you have around events? Then the next E stands for emotions. Emotions ride on the tailcoats of thoughts. So if something happens in your life, you have some thoughts around it, like you think you're not good enough now, or you think that other people think you're not good enough now, or whatever it be, and then you're experiencing emotions around that. Sometimes we get angry. Sometimes we get fearful. But then that emotion, based on our past and what's been programmed into the memory centers of your brain, will elicit some behavior. And oftentimes that is in the form of food. And so you have to start digging in that category of your life if you want to find some solutions, okay? Let's move on to chapter 3 in the Power Foods Lifestyle. I talk about setting goals and very, very specific strategies to help you achieve this. Many of you know there's 3 places I recommend if you're serious about hitting a goal, that you put your goals in writing on your fridge, on your bathroom mirror, and on the dashboard of your car. I talk about that in chapter 3. In chapter 4, we talk about macronutrients. Macronutrients are the big nutrients that contribute calories to the foods you eat. So that's your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fats. Okay? Your body does not add up the calories just like a bank account and then take a tally for the day and say, okay, we put in 2,000 calories and then we burned 1,800 calories, and so yeah, we gained 200 calories of weight. It is not that simple, okay? It's a very complex chemistry experience that goes on, and so it's all about starting to understand that each of these macronutrients have different roles, and introducing the idea that when we understand their basic roles, that in the combinations of certain foods and macronutrient groups together will elicit certain responses in the body, maybe for better energy, maybe to help you feel more full, maybe to stop you from shaking and getting headaches. So we start to open up that dialogue into looking at food as truly a mechanism for controlling the body and directing the body, which makes you step into this idea that you are the master of yourself and you get to determine what this beautiful vehicle you are in does and how it responds to this natural world that it is in. Chapter 5, we talk about protein. I break that down. The key to know about protein is it is an anchor. It is a stabilizer. So that's where I introduce the idea that we're eating protein at every meal, and how you can do that, how the amino acids that come from protein are the building blocks of all tissue and muscles and cells. And so getting that protein in there is really, really key. Chapter 6, I go into carbohydrates and how not all carbs are bad. It's more about the condition you're dealing with or what the goals are. But to understand, I use an analogy about a pearl necklace, and that carbs break down to glucose. Glucose is a simple sugar. Think of it like pearls on a pearl necklace. Well, your body can use those, but if there's more than can be used at one time, then your body's going to string together those pearls into like a pearl necklace for storage in the liver and the muscle sites, and that's called glycogen. Now, that's assuming that the cells in your body are responding and we don't have insulin resistance and we are able to absorb that. That's the way we have to understand how glycogen works if you want to optimize your body composition. So I'll teach you all about that in chapter 6. In chapter 7, I talk about fats, how they are one of my favorite macronutrients because of their power for brain function, their power for hormones, and their power to help you feel satiated. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my past life of disordered eating was eating a few calories, and those calories consisted of very high processed, refined, white floured, sugared, 100-calorie snacks and shakes and diet bars. And I was starving because the main consumption was carbohydrates. Carbs are not a filling food. And so learning how to use fats for my energy not only helped me lose a big part of that water bloat, but helped my brain function better, helped me, I am very prone to hypoglycemia, and I have to be on my A game every day or else I get low blood sugar and want to pass out and get headaches, and I have blackouts a lot. And so that was huge for me to start learning how fats could stabilize my blood sugar and help me feel full so I didn't have to go to bed starving, wake up in the middle of the night, have a binge that I would feel guilty about the next morning, and start the cycle of punishing in my eating all over again. So that chapter on fats is really key if you want to understand hormones and satiation and getting on top of feeling right when you're eating food. Chapter 8, I talk about vegetables and how they are the key component to be combined with protein as an anchor of all meals. That combination, a PV anchor of protein and veggies, is the combination needed to make neurotransmitters for your brain. Neurotransmitters are the little messengers that work to send messages in the brain. They jump from dendrite to dendrite, and that's like serotonin, dopamine, GABA, acetylcholine, norepinephrine. And so if you are not able to make proper neurotransmitters, well, guess what? What are you going to be feeling? Maybe depressed, maybe anxious and panicked and frazzled a lot, and maybe kind of worthless and maybe unfulfilled. Maybe you need to start working on getting those proteins and veggies paired together, and this book will help you learn how to do that. In chapter 9, I discuss fruits and how too many people think fruits are more healthy than they are. Yes, they are healthy, but they are to be used in strategy and with a discipline because there is a process your body must go through when processing fruit. Okay, that breaks down the fructose, that natural sugar in fruit, which, yeah, it's healthy, but guess what? Your liver is a magical engine that has to take that fructose and convert it into a glucose resembling molecule so your body can actually use it, and your liver cannot do a lot at one time. And that's a huge mistake people make when they're doing their fruit beverages, their fruit smoothies. Number one thing I see when people come to me and they think they're doing an amazing job, and I applaud them, but I teach them now next level. They're doing way too much fruit in their morning protein shakes. You should have like no more than half a cup. And just as in my hypothyroidism webinars that I just did a huge, 3-class series this past week with all those people who attended, if you have underactive thyroid, I would highly recommend getting fruit out. Even for that 30-day plunge, you need to get any glucose, any fructose, any of those sugars outside the body so your body can start to get that bad bacteria out of the gut. In chapter, so I got an itch on my nose. In chapter 10, I talk about meal construction. So this is where I start introducing the idea of what does a meal look like? That's a PVC, protein, veggie, carb, PVF, protein, veggie, fat, PVFC, protein, veggie, fat, carb, etc. It's cute because my husband, now of 1 month, I quizzed him last night during our dinner. I said, "Hey babe, what is this? What type of power foods meal are we eating?" And he's like, "Well, a P and a V, obviously." I'm like, "Yeah, you got that right. Now look at the foods we have." Actually, no, this was this morning. This was this morning when I made him breakfast. And so he looked at the one clementine on our paper plate, and he's like, I don't know. And so I explained to him about the whole fruit thing. And so that was a lowercase c, a small carb. And then I made him eggs, full eggs with lots of different vegetables. I think we had 4 different vegetables cooked in coconut oil. And then he likes his toast in the morning. I'm not going to tell him what to do and what not to do. He does a great job. And so we had some healthy bread toasted, and I spread some guacamole on that. And then I put all the scrambled veggies and eggs on top, and then the one clementine on the side. So it was a PVFFC little c. And for his body, that is a wonderful meal. So my portion size was less. I ended up eating a PVCF little c. For my body, that's fantastic for right now. Okay. And so meal construction starts to open you to the idea and the possibilities of what type of meal, what PVC, PVFC, PV double C, double F, triple F, whatever these concepts are for your body. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about what makes the Power Foods Lifestyle book and theory and methodology so unique and different. So I'm just talking you through what's in the book. In chapter 11, we are discussing meal timing. I am not the person that's going to tell you one approach is right for everyone. However, there are a few main principles that I would like to share with you quickly. When you have a sluggish metabolism, when we are dealing with digestive issues, when we are dealing with disordered eating, when we are dealing with emotions that sway us to eat a lot of food, I highly recommend we get started on small, frequent meals per day. There is a huge part of having those meals to look forward to. And that's assuming that you can prep them and have them ready and stick to a schedule, and that you have the time in your day to do that. But that is the fastest way to get a metabolism stoked. Now, does that mean that's the end all be all? No, you can adapt as your body feels appropriate. For some people, intermittent fasting works fantastic. I have an entire podcast on the podcast, an episode discussing the Power Foods Lifestyle approach to intermittent fasting. For some people and some demographics, the way some people think, that is the best approach for them. For other people, 3 meals a day may just be the best way. Now, I'd encourage you, if you're someone that's frustrated with your weight, if you're someone that finds that you end up emotionally eating, or you have a hard time saying no to food and you are still trying to do 3 meals a day, I'd encourage you to strategize a little differently. That's what I'm asking you to do with the Power Foods Lifestyle, is to become a strategist. Because you can't take Johnny on the corner and say, hey, Johnny's succeeding with 4 meals a day. That must be the way to success. My heavens, no, that's the way to success for him, his body, and the way he thinks and his lifestyle. If you want to go live the exact same life as him, have the same thoughts as him, have the same background in genetics and memory center programming from your childhood as him, then yes, maybe that would work for you too. But that's the problem, is many people are shortchanging themselves because they're not willing to think more critically when it comes to their food choices. That's why we are in a crisis of our health. And I am proud of each of you being here at Body Buddies, because I know you are here because you are a thinker. You do want to find solutions. You are willing to push yourself to these levels of education. All right, for all you tuning in, we're discussing Power Foods Lifestyle chapters and what makes this such a unique methodology. We're down to chapter 12, portion sizes. So P represents 15 to 30 grams of protein, V represents 1 to 2 cups of vegetables, C represents 20 to 30 grams of carbs, and F represents 8 to 12 grams of fat. As you experiment with these ranges, you will discover incredible things. And it's kind of like spiritual learning, where you can't tell someone what they're going to learn and feel as a result. You just have to teach them the principle and let them go experiment with it. And then when they tell you the outcome, is like, yes, you are beginning to see. I will tell you, for many people, tracking macros is fantastic. The first 5 years of me doing this, I could not. My emotions, my psychology was such that tracking any form of numbers was psychotic for me. It made me psychotic. And you will know if you are that person too. And that's why learning this method, this was truly the method that healed me, was memorizing all of the different proteins, carbs, fats, and veggies, and memorizing what serving size would equal that peak range. Because if you know that a half cup of olives is a fat and an F, and you know that a PVC or PVF meal 6 times a day lands you 1,500 calories, and you know exactly what portion of C's or P's or V's adds up to that, will you hit it? exactly on the dot every time? No, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't obsess that much. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. But when you can look at a meal and say, wow, I can see that that fat serving is bigger than an F, 8 to 12 grams of fat, then you qualify that and you end up meeting caloric goals without ever having to obsess about numbers. Does it take learning and memorization and looking at labels and about 2 to 3 weeks of paying attention? Yeah. And once you do it, you've got it down, baby. You've got it down for life. And it's freeing. It's freeing to go to a restaurant and look at the food brought to you and be able to qualify how many P's and V's and F's and C's are on there because you've trained yourself. That's freedom. In chapter 13, we talk about the indulgence meal. Got a message the other day. Actually, it was a comment about the indulgence meal, and somebody said, I know you're a proponent of not being an all or nothing person and that you really need to have those snacks and things, but I don't believe that we really should be putting those white flours and sugars in our bodies. And I'm going, hold the phone. When did I ever say you have to be eating those things? I'm very confused. My front end marketing really helps meet a gigantic demographic of people who otherwise wouldn't even dare step into healthy eating because it can feel too much to say, nope, those foods are too forbidden for you. Being able to shift and have a plan of abstainer versus moderator with an end goal of temperance gives you a plan and a strategy for how and when and how much of those foods to have if you need them. Every single one of you is going to be different. And my heavens, no, I don't believe you should be putting sugars and flours in your body. No, in an ideal world, we would all be eating as beautifully and perfectly as possible. But the reality is we're living in 2018, coming on 2019. There is a mass effort, a current of trends and marketing and availability that really is suffocating. And unless you're willing to give over everything in your life, including, let's be honest, a good source of your happiness, then you can pull the all or nothing thing. I just have never seen it work. I've coached over 5,000 people, you guys. I've never seen it work. And I'm talking, I watch people, not just over the course of like a 3 or 6 month coaching experience. I'm checking back after a few years. I see their Instagrams. I see their Facebooks. I see what happens to them. And I see what happens to other people when they take other approaches. When one day they're tuned, yes, this way is the way. And then, 6 months later, I'm like, was it? I'm seeing your photos. And it's not in a judgmental way. It's an observant way. That's why I do what I do. I'm observant. I pick up the data and assimilate it and then share it with you so you can be a thinker of that in your own way, okay? So please don't make the mistake of thinking that I am all about you have to have that candy bar or those Oreos. Oh, heavens, no. No, it's about doing what's right for you. Chapter 14, I talk about the triple S, all the sweeteners, seasonings, and sauces. I answer all your questions there, what sweeteners you shouldn't be using. I'll just say out the gate, I'm not a fan of agave. I only will use raw honey, fruit, or stevia, personally. I'm even at a point I am doing away with sucralose as much as I can and all artificial sweeteners. So, chapter 15, I discuss the top supplements and vitamins you should be taking. 16, how much water you should be drinking, why, what it does in your body, and helping you understand what the right approach to hydration is. Chapter 17, we talk about maintenance and miscellaneous goals. This is where so many of the FAQs that have come up over the years of coaching, what about this? What about this? What if I'm elderly? What if I am having trouble with, this sport? What if my kids are doing this? That's where I go into all these different aspects of Power Foods Lifestyle. Chapter 18 gives you lots of tips of food prep and how to shop and how to think and track things. And chapter 19, I talk about the pursuit of perfection and why it's wise not to push too hard for too long. I believe in seasons, absolutely. If you want to do that fitness competition, you want to get ripped for your beach vacation, you want to feel great for your wedding, you want to whatever it be, I'll support you. But if it's not the right approach and it's not the right time and you're not able to sustain it and it causes more problems than it fixes, then I'm not a fan of that. I am a natural A-type personality. I am a natural perfectionist. Thank goodness I've been able to train myself over the past few years how to drop it down, scale it back, rein it in a bit so I can be a little healthier, a little happier, a little more loving towards myself and towards other people. That's how I'm able to coach because there is no element of that judgment in me because I've stopped judging myself. And that's really what makes a coach. So when you are looking for somebody to help you, I think that's a good thing to look at, is truly how stable in their own lifestyle are they? Do they practice what they preach? Could you surmise that there's any closet behavior that they're hiding from you? I will say I see it a ton in the fitness world and nutrition world. I see it. People promote on social media, Facebook, Instagram one way, and then they can't keep up with it in their own life. And so they feel guilt and shame. And then they come out and they bash the fitness lifestyle. And I think really at the end of the day, it's about knowing yourself and being authentic and real. And that's why this is a lifestyle. It's a journey. There is no finish line. You will have seasons you do better than others. You will have seasons you shift your approach. I'm going to go make an Instagram post here that talks about some of my own shifts in my own eating and what's evolved for me over the Power Foods lifestyle over the past year. So I hope that if this book sounds of interest to you, you will read it. I've had many people read it in 1 or 2 days. They're just like in it. I have people with pictures show me like the highlights and the tabs and all this. They treat it kind of like their food Bible. You do need to keep your education going with my podcast or PFL Academy to enlarge upon it, but this is the fantastic base if you want to finally make sense of the nutrition misinformation or even just misinterpreted information that maybe you just didn't apply it right or understand a true principle when it was taught, and you're ready to clarify that all Power Foods lifestyle is for you. So thanks for being here with me. Power your body, one meal, one workout, one day at a time.